Alrighty, here we have a compound interest problem, and we've got a bunch of information to grab, and we're basically plugging stuff into a formula and using the calculator to calculate whatever that value is. So let's see how this works here. We're going to start off with just a reminder of what our compound interest formula looks like. The amount that I have in my account is going to equal the P principal times 1 plus my rate as a decimal, R, over n to the n times t power. So again, what all this stuff means, this basically is your starting value that we've seen before. The rate R is my rate as a decimal, not a percentage. My n is the number of times I'm compounding, and we're going to use that n here and here as well. So let's take a look at how this works in practice. So here I've got this problem. You deposit $750 into a savings account, and you earn 6.6% annual interest compounded daily. How much money will you have after 2 years? So let's grab some important information. $750 is my deposit. That's telling me that's going to be my P, my initial amount. Next up, I see in a savings account, I'm going to earn 6.6% annual interest. So that's going to give me my rate. But remember, I have to express this rate as a decimal, not as a percentage. So I'm going to move my decimal point a couple spots over, and I'll get 0.066 as my rate. That's my R, and I have annual interest compounded daily. That's a key there. That's going to give me what this N value is. That's going to represent the number of times that I'm compounding in 1 year. So if I am compounding daily, then my N will be 365, since there are 365 days in a year. Now the question is, how much money will I have after 2 years? That final variable that I am gathering from this right here is that T equals 2 for 2 years. Once I have all of these numbers, the only thing that I don't know in this formula is what that amount is. So that is what I'm calculating for. So let's plug in what we know. A equals 750 times 1 plus 0.066 over 365 raised to the 365 times 2 power. At this point, all that you're doing is you are just plugging this into your calculator exactly the way it's written. With one change, I would recommend putting in parentheses around this fraction here. Actually, if you're typing it, you're probably going to put a parenthesis here, hit the divide button, and then put a parenthesis here. And I'd also put parentheses around this exponent. And that's just because your calculator reads from left to right, and it knows PEMDAS. So just to make sure that you don't accidentally raise this whole thing to the 365th power and then multiply whatever that is by 2, this will prevent you from having the calculator misinterpret what you're trying to say. So why don't you go ahead and punch that into your calculator, see what you get, and I'm going to come up with an answer here. And what I'm coming up with is, let's see, I think it's $855.82. Let me check that figure. Yes, $855.82. And that's just typing in some numbers and hitting the enter key. So like I said, when you're typing that in, be careful that you are putting this in a logical order, or at least in a way that the calculator understands. And this is what you should be finding.